today's highly requested video, we're going over how to play Pokemon, the trading card game for beginners. For many people, you started collecting cards at a younger age or even as an adult, but you never kind of figured out actually how to play the Pokemon TCG. And that's perfectly fine. You may just love the anime and you may just love collecting trading cards. So this video is for you, and if you enjoy it, don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's get into the game. In Pokemon TCG, there are 3 ways to win the game. You can take all of your prize cards, you can knock out all of their Pokemon in play, or if your opponent has no more cards to draw on their next turn, you win. Now there are 3 card types, the first one being actual Pokemon. You have basic Pokemon, stage 1 Pokemon, and stage 2 Pokemon. Then we have the trainers. The trainer cards, you have items, supporters, and stadiums. And the third type of cards, of course, are energy cards. You have basic energy cards and special energy cards. Of course, you want to get as familiar as possible with your cards, so make sure you read them over and over before you start playing Pokemon TCG. But of course, over time and over repetition, the more that you play, the more you'll get used to what is actually on your cards, and you won't really have to check every so often. Now, whether you're using a playmat or not, this is pretty much how your setup is going to look when you're playing. On the far left side, you're going to have your 6 prize cards. In the middle is where your active Pokemon is going to be. Below that is your bench, where you can place up to 5 Pokemon. You have your deck in the upper right and your discard pile right below that. Now, before you get started, make sure you have 60 cards in your deck. That is how much you need to play. And keep in mind, you can only have 4 of each card in your deck, with the exception of energy cards. For example, I may only have 4 of these Quick Ball trainer cards in my deck and no more than that. Same goes with Pokemon, and even if it's the same card with a different artwork, you still cannot have more than 4 in your deck. Okay, so now you're ready to play. You're going to shake your opponent's hand, grab a coin or a die. You're going to flip it to see who goes first. Whoever wins the coin flip or the toss of the die decides which player gets to go first. You're going to shuffle your deck and draw the top 7 cards. Check to see if you have any basic Pokemon in your hand, and if you do, you're going to put one of your basic Pokemon face down as your active Pokemon. You can put up to 5 more basic Pokemon face down onto your bench as well. And then you're going to put the top 6 cards of your deck off to the side face down as your prize cards. If you or your opponent don't have any basic Pokemon to put down in your first hand, you're going to reveal your hand to your opponent and shuffle your hand back into your deck. Then draw 7 more cards. If you still don't have any basic Pokemon, you're going to repeat that process. Now, we use a special word for this in Pokemon TCG. Every time your opponent has to draw because they have no basic Pokemon, it is called a mulligan. And every time your opponent has to do this, you can draw 1 card for every mulligan. Once this beginning stage is completed, both players can flip their active and bench Pokemon face up and start the game. One of the things that differentiates Pokemon TCG from other trading card games is that the parts of your turn cannot be interrupted. You have your entire turn to do the following. Each turn has 3 main parts. The first being you're going to draw a card. The second is going to be any of the following actions in any order. You can put more basic Pokemon cards from your hand onto your bench, as many as you'd like, up to 5 on your bench at a time. You can evolve as many Pokemon as you want during your turn, as long as you didn't play that initial basic Pokemon on the same turn. For example, since I already have my Goodra V down, on my next turn, I can evolve it into a Goodra V-Star. You can attach energy cards from your hand to one of your Pokemon only once per turn. You can play as many trainer cards as you'd like, with the exception of supporter cards and stadium cards. Supporter cards and stadiums can only be played once per turn. You may retreat your active Pokemon only once per turn from the active spot to the bench. Keep in mind, different Pokemon have different retreat costs. And last but not least, you can use any abilities highlighted on your cards, as many as you want during this turn. And finally, part 3, attack and then end your turn. Now keep in mind, you guys, this is a beginner guide, so there are of course variables and exceptions to these rules. That's why I say make sure you study your cards, study other people's cards and other meta decks out there, because there are tons of fancy ways to mix it up. Also, keep in mind you always want to attack as the last thing you do. Make sure you've done everything you can, because attacking will always end your turn. Now, if you want to mount an attack, you need to make sure that you have all the right amount of energy cards on your Pokemon, as well as the right type of energy on your Pokemon. For example, my Goodra V-Star needs a water energy, a metal energy, and a colorless energy, which can be any type of energy card. So if I wanted my Goodra V-Star to attack, I would have to attach these 3. Again, I can't stress enough, you guys, make sure you know what's on the cards and what makes them strong, so you know what energy you need, or if your attacks have not only damage but effects, which we'll talk about in the next video. Once you've damaged your opponent's Pokemon, make sure to put down a damage marker so you know how much damage you've done to that Pokemon's HP already. Once the number of damage you've done exceeds the number of HP or health points your opponent's Pokemon has, that Pokemon is now knocked out. Now, not every Pokemon card is created equally. Some are worth only 1 prize card when you knock them out. Pokemon cards like Pokemon V cards are worth 2 prize cards when you knock them out, and V-Star cards as well. And Pokemon V Max cards are worth a whopping 3 prize cards every time you knock them out. Like I said at the beginning of the video, there's 3 ways to win. If you collect all 6 of your prize cards, your opponent has no more active Pokemon in play, or they have no more cards to draw on their next turn. In the next video, we're going to try to get more of an advanced look at Pokemon TCG. We'll be talking about conditions like being burned or paralyzed. We'll be talking about tools that you can use and much more. There's definitely some beginner-friendly ways to get started. You can pick up the Battle Academy boxes for very cheap. Battle Academy boxes come with pre-made decks. It comes with a rules book and a guide to actually take you step by step through your first Pokemon TCG game. Also, purchasing pre-made decks takes a lot of the thinking out of actually putting a deck together. It's a great way to start, and you can always modify it later by adding or taking away cards. I hope this was enough for you to get started on your Pokemon TCG journey. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments section. I'll see you on the next video, Wolfpack. Peace out.